Hello, hi everyone. Hi everyone, a very good afternoon to you again, and do welcome to our Marketing Institute of Singapore 24th lunchtime webinar. Wow. So today is our 24th day. So we've been doing the past 23 webinar sessions. In fact, every day during lunchtime. So while we have come a long way. So I hope you guys have a good rest over the weekends, plus the public holiday yesterday. So like what we said, we'll try to support you. In fact, this initiative that the Marketing Institute of Singapore has adopted, it's a way to actually, keep you company during your lockdown period at home, right? Okay, so let's hope with the release of lockdown on the 2nd of June, well, we'll see. We'll evaluate to see if more of you are getting back to work. Otherwise, we will probably consider, if we should continue with our lunchtime webinar. So over the past 23 sessions of webinars, we actually touch on various topics. Now, if you have actually missed on our topic itself, you can always get back to our YouTube channels, the Marketing Institute of Singapore YouTube channel, where you'll see the past 23 sessions, and I will advise you to do so. Reason why? Because we pick up different topics every day. So we actually touch on how to do better presentations, slides, branding, in fact, various topics that are very closely related to our business industry. So if you do miss out on any of those sessions, get back to our Marketing Institute of Singapore YouTube channel, and you'll be able to catch up with us over there. So now today, later I'm going to touch on our speakers today, which is very closely related to what I'm doing. Anyway, my name is Roger Wang. I'm the current president of the Marketing Institute of Singapore. And for the past 3 days, we've been keeping you company. Okay, so today is our 24th session. As you know, we are doing this free. I've received some messages today from my industry colleague. Are you all charging? No. MIS, we actually a not-for-profit organization. So we do this actually to support our industries among the marketeers and sales industry itself as a way of engaging and at the same time sharing the knowledge from our trainers. So while we have over the past 23 days, our past 23 trainers plus some guest speakers coming from abroad, like Donald coming from Philippines, Yao Xing coming from China. So we probably have a couple of more coming up. As you know, we are also live on Facebook. So do go on to our Facebook and click on the live. So, share with your friends, share with your fans itself on the good thing that we've been doing, right? So that it can benefit more people, okay? Now, as you know, yeah, you can see on the screen right now, just click on the like buttons and share our live session. Tomorrow will be an interesting day that we've been preparing. Oh my God, over the past 1 week, very stressful. Me and my team, well, we have been preparing for this webinar. It's going to be the Asia Marketing Day. Wow. Okay, where we celebrate at the same time the birthday, the 89th birthday of Professor Philip Kotler, okay, who is the father of modern marketing or father of marketing itself. Now, for those in marketing, if you are not aware of who Professor Philip Kotler is, then I suggest you get back to, if you have some of those old textbooks or some of the newer ones, in fact, he came up with a couple of new editions. You look at the marketing management or the marketing management textbook itself by Prentice Hall, which I used to keep like for a long time. He is the author, and in fact, he was the one that really shaped the whole marketing industries plus the academic industries itself. So now Philip will be Professor Philip. I should call him Professor Philip. All right, he'll be coming on board to give his greetings. So do look out for his recorded video. All right, on what he will be talking about on the current situation. Right, and of course, by our founder of the Asia Marketing Federation, where we have currently 17 countries and region within the federation itself, Pak Hermawan Kartajaya, who is the founder of the Asia Marketing Federation itself. He will be coming in to talk about the keynotes, something that I think should be very related on the challenges that we are facing right now during COVID or even post-COVID-19. Okay, so do look out for tomorrow. Now, if I were you, I'll block that time. Reason why? Because it's quite an interesting sessions because we're gonna start right from morning 10:30 right up to 4 Singapore time. All right. The reason why I said Singapore time because there are around 20 countries and regions participating in this, coming in to speak on the topic itself. So do look out for this. Join us, and if you can see, there is a QR code scan on the QR code. So tomorrow we're going to start on Singapore time at 10:30. The room will be open at 10. So please come in and join us. And you'll be hearing from all the presidents of the National Marketing Associations on the topic, which I think I can flash it. Next slide, please. Do we have it on the next slide? Yes, okay. So this will be the very first sessions of tomorrow, which you can see greetings by Professor Philip Kotler and opening address by the Asia Marketing Federation, Rohan, which is a close friend of mine. Okay, and of course followed by the panel discussion moderated by Professor Kim Boo-jong from Korea. Okay, so the topic for the East Asia Caucus will be the consumer in the age of COVID-19. So as you can see, we are having representative coming from Korea, Japan, China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Mongolia, Macau, okay, and followed by a Q&A sessions, which will see us ending the sessions at around 12:30. So tomorrow, MIs will not be having our own lunchtime webinar, but rather we will be hosting this Asia Marketing Day, which I'll be emceeing for the whole day itself. Okay, next, can I have the next slide, please? Thanks. So after the East Asia Caucus will be the ASEAN Caucus, which you can see the greetings by Professor Kotler again. It's going to start at 12:30, back to back, okay? Where the welcoming address will be by Ms. Gwen, which is our immediate past president of the Asia Marketing Federation, followed by the opening address by Professor Hui Tian-Huan, which is an adjunct professor with the Nanyang Technology Universities. All right, and you can see almost all the ASEAN members are there, except probably a couple of them. So we have Indonesia and Institute of Marketing Malaysia, that's by Dato Sharifah, a very close sister of mine. And of course, MIS, Marketing Institute of Singapore, I'll be representing Singapore in that area. The Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, Myanmar, and Cambodia, followed by a Q&A closing around 2 p.m. Okay, and we will actually go for a break between 2 to 2:30, which we will come on board again for the South Asia Caucus. Greetings by Professor Kotler again, and then of course by the chief patron of the Marketing Society of Bangladesh, Professor Said Fahad, okay, which will be moderating the sessions for the South Asia Caucus. Now, I was told that Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, and of course, Nepal will be coming on board, okay? So it'll be interesting to hear from all of them. So block your time from tomorrow, 10:30, right up to 4. Now, you can always come in at any point of time. It is free, okay, guys? So do come in, and you can see the pictures of the panel of speakers out there, including the founder, Pak Temawan Kartajaya. Now, I actually met with Kotler a couple of times, in fact, in Japan and in Bangkok and in Indonesia. Wow, amazing, you know, someone standing at the age of 89, he swims every day. Okay, and his energy and his spirit, it's commendable, okay? So do join us tomorrow, which we will be going on live at 10:30. The room will be open at 10, Singapore time. So we are expecting quite a fair bit, probably cross 1,000, perhaps 2,000, all right, among all the whole Asia region, okay? All right, so today our speakers will be Ms. Barkathunnisha, okay? She'll be touching on the topic on the show must go on, planning and executing events during a crisis. This is something that's very close to my heart. I've been in events management for more than 20 years. And I didn't even know that Miss Nisha, I'll address her as Miss Nisha from now on onwards. Or I would say Professor or Dr. Nisha itself, which I think she will be getting a PhD in about 10 days time, in about 10 days, and researching on tourism industries. So today we are certainly very glad to actually hear from her. I'll do a bit more introduction on her. Okay, as you can see on our lunchtime webinar itself, tomorrow it will not be called a lunchtime webinar. It will be called the Asia Marketing Day, which we're going to start at 10:30 to 4. And of course, on the 28th itself, where we will have Professor Catherine Tate coming in to talk about impact of COVID-19 on business contract. Now, Professor Catherine Tate, do Google her, or you can find out more about her. She is the one of the top law trainer professors, both in Singapore and abroad. Okay, and she has been with MIS for 30 over years, teaching law subjects. I was once her student. All right, so yeah, do look out. And in fact, Prof. Catherine Tate has actually published a book on this, on COVID-19, or many books itself. So on law, so related. So please do come on board. And I'm also very glad to tell you that, I will also do my bit in terms of speaking during the lunchtime webinar, where I'll be touching on building business resiliency with personal branding. Okay, personal branding is something that's very close to my heart, which I think I will not take up of Nisha's time today, so that we can get on to tell that she will have more time to speak to us today. Okay, all right. Now, all these are actually brought to you by the Marketing Institute of Singapore Executive Development Program. Okay. Now, if you can see that red little banner out there, we've been voted as the #1 corporate training provider for the past 5 years. Okay. And well, we're very proud to say that we've been just look at who is actually holding on to the second positions, which I'm not going to say much. There are certainly a bigger organizations than us, but we are the #1 trainer, okay, for the past 5 years. That speaks quality and volume of the Marketing Institute of Singapore Executive Development Program. Now, there are more than 120 over programs that you can select from across 9 major disciplines: sales, events management, leadership, marketing, human capital management, business management, communications, service excellence, and personal effectiveness. I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to get something out of all these courses, or probably find one of those courses that are relevant and related to what you're doing. So if you're watching Korean drama during this lockdown period, which the lockdown will be lifting up pretty soon, I think it's not too late to still pick up 1 or 2 courses from the Marketing Institute of Singapore. So do look out for all these courses that we're offering right now, and so that you can actually gain in terms of your knowledge or your skill set post-COVID. Okay. And of course, MIS, through the years, we are being known as offering our diploma, our advanced diploma, graduate diploma, including some of the degree program. But let me introduce you to this particular program, the Advanced Diploma in Digital Marketing. Now, like what I said, what certify you as a digital marketer? So through my engagement with a lot of the industry people, some of them, when they pass me their name card as a digital marketer, uh, I can't help to just wonder how do you certify yourself, or it's just because of your experience that you're working in some industries. Now, don't take me wrong. I'm not saying they're not good, but I thought it would be good to actually have a academic qualifications on digital marketing. So if you don't have that, I would strongly advise you to pick up the advanced diploma in digital marketing uh, from the Marketing Institute of Singapore, and get yourself certified as a digital marketer. Marketing is going to be very different post-COVID. Everything is going to transform, and so if you are just looking at traditional marketing, then perhaps it's about time that you should upgrade yourself. And of course, our ever popular diploma in sales and marketing and diploma in business itself. Now you'll be surprised at how easy it is to actually attend our courses and our lessons. We make it very easy. We do take in mind that all of us are actually working professionals, so yeah, we need to take some time off, and we make it very easy and convenient for all of you. All right. So a lot of them can be done online itself, and so do check out on this via the telephone number that's appearing on your screen. Okay, next, please. Now, a lot of you are asking, how can I get some form of discount and things like that? Of course, you can join us as our associate member or our international associate member itself. Okay, do find out more on our membership so that you can actually enjoy a discount of up to 20 or 30% of the courses that are being offered in MIS. In fact, every day we're having webinar training in MIS itself. So if you want to enjoy further discount, do join us, okay? And of course, being our members itself, it's also open for you to actually attend some of our events, but sometimes it's chargeable and sometimes it's free. So this in particular is free for everyone, okay? All right, so next slide, please, thanks. We are also doing our bit in terms of mask donation. So as you know, we've been asking for donors for masks. Now we're not doing for Singapore. You know, our government are doing a great job. Round of applause for our government in Singapore. Okay, in providing masks to all of us. In fact, we are well taken care of in that area itself. Okay. Now I couldn't speak of the same for our community coming, or our folks coming from the neighboring countries such as Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Bangladesh, or even Sri Lanka. Okay, so our very first stop that we'll be going to is actually in Philippines, where we are working with our counterpart, the Philippine Marketing Association, in terms of distributing the mask to them. So it's not expensive, it's just $20 for a box of masks where you can actually benefit 50 people. Okay, so if I were you, just scan on the QR code. I think we can bear to part with just $20, okay, and it will benefit people, not from Singapore, but more for those that are out there. I think in Singapore itself, we're quite fortunate. Our government is doing a great job for us in terms of really providing the necessity for us. Okay, so yeah, and do look out later at 3:30. I think that's the time that everyone actually in Singapore itself locked down, in their timetable, ensure that there'll be that there's a screen that they can actually access to, listening to our Deputy Prime Minister, which will be releasing more of the help for our community. Okay, all right, next. Now, of course, today, wow, we have I would say Dr. Barkathunnisha, which will be touching on the show must go on, the topic on show must go on, planning and executing events during crisis. No, I didn't even know that she has been in the industry for quite a while. Okay, let me tell you a bit more about her. Huh? Okay, I'll just address her as Miss Nisha. Nisha has actually attained her Masters of Business Administration, MBA, at the Nanyang Technological Universities. All right, she's also a adjunct lecturer with Kaplan and SUSS. Okay, and she's actually a founder of a consulting firm. She has been a management consultant, a tourism and hospitality practitioner, corporate trainer with academic experience of more than, should I mention the word 25? I seriously don't think she looked like that. You'll see. All right. She actually asked me not to mention. I thought it would be good because with her years of experience, I think certainly it would be quite beneficial to actually listen from her. She has been a keynote speaker, a panelist presenter, a guest lecturer at conferences, exhibitions, and in academic talks in Singapore and the region. Okay, and as a corporate trainer itself, Nisha has actually trained and coached staff from international, regional, and national both public and private organizations. And she was recognized for her work by being awarded the Outstanding Tourism Trainer 2010 by WSQ. Okay, sorry, WDA. Why did I say WSQ? Now, well, it's interesting. I didn't even know Nisha has been in this line for a long time. As you know, I've been in events industry for the past 20 years. Okay, it's a tough time right now, very very tough time. Without further ado, let's get Nishal on board right now. Hi, Nishal.
Hi, Roger. Thank you so much for the introduction. Very comprehensive indeed. Yeah.
Well, we are all very excited to hear from you. And should I say Dr. Nisha, Professor Nisha itself?
Oh, not yet, not yet. I've still got a little bit more time to go. It's a long journey. Yeah.
So you'll be great. You'll be having your PhD from Murdoch Universities.
That's
very
correct.
good. We certainly need people like you are for our industries. Academic, especially in the area of mines and business events itself. There are a lot of changes right now, and we're faced with a lot of challenges. Now I've been I'm actually in this group chat among some of the exhibition organizers, and I can really feel from their anxiety itself that everything is changes. There's nothing really coming in. Everyone is like trying to get a foothold on where the next phase of events will be and how will it transform. So here is where I think Professor Nisha,
No,
oh,
not yet, not
Professor
yet.
Nisha would be coming, right? In about 10 days
That's
time, well, a week time, right? So you'll be awarded your
submission.
professor, okay, from Murdoch University. So that's where we want to hear from you, would-be prof, to share with us. And of course, Nisha is actually from one of our training, what did I say, training partners, okay, which I'm going to talk more later. So Nisha, just take it on, and we would like to hear more from you on how you can actually help in our industry in the area of. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Roger. I'll see you shortly after I finish. Welcome, everyone. It's great to have so many of you. I don't know what the numbers are. We're looking at about coming to 100 people sitting in, and I think more people will be joining in to listen to something that is really a hot topic at the moment. Everybody is wondering, what is this industry going to be? Because this is supposed to be the most attractive industry, at least in Singapore and many parts of the world. We were really jumping into the MICE sector because it's one of the leading income generators as far as at least Singapore is concerned. We've been leading the world as far as MICE is concerned as well, and especially in Asia Pacific. So when we suddenly came into a halt with the COVID pandemic, people question in people's head is, when is this going to end? I've been getting this question, like, when is it going to end? How is it going to end? What is it really going to happen? So it's quite an exciting time, trying to look at strategies, trying to look at past. I think the history teaches us a lot about what can we anticipate. I think the future is always very much a revelation of what we have learned in the past as well. But again, this is an unprecedented event or episode, I would say. So let me just share based on some of my engagement over the last few decades with the events industry. Personally, I've been through several pandemics, or no, epidemic is not a pandemic, epidemics, natural disasters like the tsunami, terrorism, bombing. There's so many crises that actually hit our industry. And there were many setbacks in my experience in this industry. My company was one of the leading, I would say, when we were doing events from a travel company perspective, and then of course other players came. So we've seen it. We've really seen lots of episodes that actually taught us very valuable lessons. But I think at the end of the tunnel, I would say whatever we have learned, we have just become so resilient. We have become so innovative, creative, and I think crisis has given us lots of opportunity to seize and innovate, adapt, and become a lot more resilient. So I hope this pandemic that we are going through, it's going to be another one of those episodes that we all in this industry would come very close, lots of collaboration, partnership. I would say professionalism. I think that's really what is my vision for this industry. At the end of the day, we should come out far more professional. And I think the winners will be those who are going to be professional, so highly professional. So let me just do a very quick question. We've got chats coming through. And how many of you have got your own travel plans or your events that you were supposed to go to cancel? Okay. How many of you as event planners have got the events that you're working on canceled? Myself, I have. Is there a certain sense of, I would say, insecurity, uncertainty, fear in most of you sitting here? Yeah. So think about it. Examine what is this fear all about? And what is it that we would want when we all come out of this pandemic or crisis that we are going through at the moment? It's a very important question to think about. What is this fear or uncertainty is all about? I think what we are seeing is that post the crisis, we are completely going to reset this industry, right? Meaning to say that we are going to look at new business models. We are going to look at a global industry, events industry that may be in a transformative state. Consumer patterns are going to change. Consumer experiences are going to change. And to me, when I look at all these, I think it's so needed in our industry. Some of the problems that we are in the events industry, we are facing in this industry is not a COVID problem. I feel that is a problem that we have been blind to, that we have created over the decades. It has been always been business as usual. And it's come to a time that we really need to re-examine, reorientate ourselves to new practices and business models. The other thing that I've noticed is that there was a time that we used to think, I was from a travel company, and we used to think that, you know, travel agents are a must. It's travel is a people thing, and people will come to travel agents no matter what. We need a face, we need to speak to. But what the last decade and a half has taught us is that disintermediation is possible. With technology, with our safe payment mode, with education, the liberation, the empowerment that these consumers have today, we have found that a face-to-face interaction is not necessarily a thing that is a must when there are creative alternatives being provided to consumers and the industry. So, and I also found that the leaders in the last 15 years when it came to being online are not really travel companies, but they tend to be more the technology companies or marketing companies. So they saw something that we as players in this industry did not want to look at, and we did not want to face, and therefore the competition came in to take away. So we did not lose the business, we just gave it up to other players who have come in. Being in the industry and a consultant and also an academic, I've been looking at some of the new players who are entering this industry. I've been in a dialogue with some of these new players who are going to come in. It's the same pattern of disintermediation that I'm seeing. New players who are coming in are very technologically savvy. They have very, very cutting edge technologies that are coming in, and they're not from our industry. So I think if there's anything that we need to do, we need to watch them and not look at our internal competition. And we need to learn from them. We need to partner from these guys who are coming in. And I think that is really about what the intelligence that our industry needs at this moment. So I'm going to share a little bit about what can we anticipate. And also, I want to scope it, given that we've got only about an hour. I want to scope it. I'm not really going into the technical stuff. I think there's lots of webinars, SASIOs, as well as the other institutions have done when it comes to what you do, technological platforms, and what you really need to do with bandwidth and stuff like that. I am looking more in terms of the consumer experience part of it. And I think if you know all the statistics, 75 to 80% of the people buy products or buy anything based on emotions. And therefore, I want to look at the experiential element, what this whole COVID experience is going to be teaching us to relook at our business models. And I'm also going to be looking at the whole notion of when it comes to management part of it. It's not the operation part of it, but the management aspects, the business models that we really need to reinvent and relook at. So I'm just going to share my screen and keep your questions coming. I'm quite happy to answer them as we approach the end of this session. Okay, and I use this word, you know, that the show must go on or online or whatever we're going to say at the moment. You know, it's not going to dampen our industry. It's not that events are going to disappear. It has to go on. Nothing's going to stop us. So let's look at what is not going to stop us. So we are talking about a huge industry, not only about the profitability, but we are talking about an industry of 26 million professionals at the moment. And of course, you know, as professionals in this industry, we are beginning to find a kind of a fear to think about whether we have come to a absolute stagnation, or, you know, are we becoming redundant? Are our skills ever going to be the same that we used to do, say, in 2019. The business plans that we drew in 2019 for the year ahead, when everybody was so optimistic, are we going to retain these business models and business plans? Big questions are happening in this industry. Tourism, higher education is re-looking at how we're going to prepare the workforce. So some of, I know students are here. It's going to revamp, it's going to change the way that we are going to work as professionals in this industry. Who is going to join us is also a very interesting thing. It's going to be so fluid. as which industry players are going to come into the tourism and events industry. It's also something, it's going to be quite exciting to see new entrants, because we've got low barriers to entry in this industry. So it's going to be also very interesting. So we are facing this new word that we have looked at, the Great Travel Depression. Okay, not only the industry is depressed, but I think a lot of professionals have become less of hope and depressed as well. But I think most of the pioneers, including myself, will tell you that it's a highly, highly resilient industry. We've learned so much, and we've always come out stronger and better than ever before. So I think it's not going to be a depression, but I think it's a lot of optimism and the great travel possibilities or opportunities, I would say. I would read on this. So over the last 4 months, we have seen, and I'll show you some of the figures, but events have been canceled, postponed. Many companies are very fearful about the health and safety aspect, rightfully so. The anxiety and fear over health and safety is definitely going to be there. I would say, if not till early next year, maybe depending on what waves we are talking about. Companies' financial obligations are going to be in dire straits because as we know, GDPs of many, many countries have been going on a steady decline. We have seen lots of bankruptcies coming up. We have been seeing companies closing down, and it's going to take some time before companies can even think of incentives or meetings. And of course, there are structural barriers in our industry as well. How much of social distancing can we expect at the airports, at the convention center, the costs involved in ensuring sanitization to surveillance. Will ever the airline industry fly at 1/3 its capacity? Would travelers ever want to think about 2 weeks of quarantine at a destination that they are unfamiliar with, and 2 weeks of quarantine when they're back home? A lot of time is wasted, anxiety. So it's going to be a dicey situation as we are going to be looking at what is going to be ahead. But I think preparation is the key. We have to put our thinking caps on, being creative, innovative, looking at partnership, and moving ahead when the time is ready. So some statistics that have actually been mentioned. If you look at PCMA has already done some of the early research, and 87% have canceled, 66% have postponed. Under review, 7 out of 10 have moved their events fully virtually or partially. We're going to see more of this 7 out of 10 coming up. Now, whatever that we are doing, whether it's virtual, hybrid, it's not a short-term fix. I've been hearing some people were saying that, fundamentally, this is a people business. We are going to go back to face-to-face. I think the biggest mistake that we're going to make is going to back to business as usual mindset. I think let's move away from that sort of a mindset and look at some paradigm changes in our industry. And it's the time to think about that. So I would say it's not a short-term fix, that whatever we're going to be saying and doing, it's really going to be something in the long term. And again, history, whether it's newspaper to travel agents to television broadcasting, all this have shown that we have to move ahead. And I would say that whether we are going to rebound or not, it's not that very optimistic at the moment. But while no rebound does not mean that we are not going to be evolving, I think that's really important to understand that no rebound does not mean that there is no evolution in the way that we are going to be running ourselves and our industry. And let's look at that as we come on. So what are some companies looking at the moment? Cancellation, of course, those of the companies that I've been talking to, I think cancellation seems to be the option. But of course, when you're looking at cancellation, I would personally say that should be the last option, where speak through your professional communication, convince with your marketing goals and what's in it for me sort of models to look at why companies should not cancel their events, and if they can, postponement could be an option. But of course, there are issues to think about, like refunds. Insurance is very, very hazy at the moment. We're all grappling is what's included, what's not included. And I think that is going to be professionalizing post-COVID as well. If you're looking at postponement, again, what sort of conferences are we talking about? Because certain conferences are very time specific and you cannot look at postponement because the data, the information could be outdated, especially something that's cutting edge technological innovation. So the type of events matter, whether it's going to be postponed. Of course, suppliers and your relationship now with your suppliers are going to play a very, very instrumental role. And I think we know it's a relationship business, but now it's a testing time for all the relationship that we have fostered over the years with our suppliers, whether we have been responsible, whether we have been truthful and honest, and which suppliers are going to be supporting us or not. This is the testing period for all that. Relocation, again, it depends very much on whether which destination can actually do a hybrid sort of event where you could go local and then global after that, global. I'll talk about that in a little while. And the focus that I'm looking at, especially in this talk, would be more virtual events as an option. But again, it should not be a solution that is a short-term fix. I'm looking at something really long-term in terms of hybrid events. And in the whole idea of hybrid, we are looking at something completely experiential. It's not about what we are doing right now. I'm sitting somewhere and I could have a couple of people watching me and just streaming, but mapping it out, from the beginning right till the end, what sort of an experiential design and element that we are going to be providing to our delegates, attendees, and whoever that is going to be there. So live content to 360 imaging to interactive maps and AR, VR, and etc. that got to come in. And I've been very, very interested to look at what the technological companies are now offering, including the National University of Singapore. People are incubating ideas, and this is a fantastic time to work with these incubators to look at how we could bring hybrid events as in a very global format. So also the good news is that many companies have already seen themselves migrating into virtual and online events, and they are going to be investing. And I think we are very blessed to be in a country like Singapore compared to many parts of the world. I've been speaking to my partners around the world, and I think we are such an amazing nation with respect to the support that we are getting from SASIOs and Singapore Tourism Board and our government. And we have seen it during the 2003 SARS epidemic. We had amazing support, and we are seeing it one more time, more support than ever before. And this is really the time to seize what Singapore Tourism Board and SASIOs have really put into place in terms of webinars to go online. They brought in watch on demand videos, the digital academy that is now on Singapore Tourism Board. So please folks, seize as much of intelligence as you can at the moment. Data is there in so many companies, MPI, PCMA, for example, and many other event council, industry council, for example. Lots and lots of information is at our fingertips. And I think the best of the pack, I would say, who's going to lead the industry are those who are going to work from intelligence. And thus they become more professional in what they are doing, rather than those who are thinking that, okay, I'm going to be like an ostrich and put my head into the sand and say, it's going to pass, it's going to pass. So seize whatever information that is out there and start to migrate into these new innovative and creative modes. I think whether we are going to be going into virtual or hybrid, the very important question that we have to keep asking is that why we want to do these events. Why are we proposing to our clients? Why do people want to come for these events during this period or host? And I personally am going to be attending events in Europe virtually, and they're going to be starting from like 8 p.m. Singapore time all the way till the next morning. And why do I want to attend this? Because these events have met my why. I want to go in because it's cutting edge research that's going to happen in there, or there's a brand to this event, and it has not been possible for me to go to these events prior to what you're going through. It could be conflict of schedule. It could be cost and the time period that is taken for us to travel. Lots of why questions. So I want to say that our events henceforth are not going to be in the lines of face-to-face, you know, so the why has to move away from the face-to-face whys. So re-examine consumer behavioral analysis when it comes to events, put a little bit more time to analyze and understand and use insights, data, analytics, for example, that is going to point towards really insightful action. So I would say start with the why first, and as a team come together and say what is going to make people go and look at virtual or hybrid events. The next thing is, I would say, you know, if we are ever going to move in whatever options we are going to take over, we've got to partner with professionals. I would never say, you know, I know that many of the DMCs are working with very thin profit margins, but I would say, please, 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 this is the time to show your professionalism. Charge where you have to, but do not do everything yourself. It is time to really partner with technological specialists. It's really a time to work with content creators. And I think if you can invest in your own company, think really about today content. I think today the content within the context is really, people always say content is king, you know, but I would say content within the current context is going to be what would be like King Kong, you know. So think about content creators who are specialized to looking at what kind of an event should we put together. Work with professionals when it comes to even venue planners today. I think instead of going for costs, if it's going to be a hybrid event I'm talking about, but look at venue partners who are very professional in sense of like they have a crisis management plan, they have protocols in place, they have a solid professional communication in place so that you are able to show your credibility. Singapore, again, I would say we're very blessed. We have the government initiative of SG Clean. And so many of the venues are branding themselves as being accredited with cleanliness. And I've been saying this to people around the world, you know, if there is a country that you may want to come back to with safe assurance, safety, Singapore could be the best, where we are going to rebound with very solid branding, cleanliness, professionalism, and it's really about getting professionals to map out. I think those of us in the service industry, whether it's museums or whether in destination, we talk about experiential mapping. I think DMCs have to start really, really thinking carefully about what is this design and experiential mapping that we've been talking in, say, attractions, you know. Come together, look at the starting point to the ending point, and look at the whole experience. And you need a professional who can actually sit down and look at the experiential maps. And that includes interactive sessions. Where do you want to put in AR and VR? It's not just dropping AR and VR, live streaming anywhere in the experience. It's about where do you think that is going to be bringing the most in terms of experience, learning, networking, etc. in an event. So I think that is what we need to do to train our future professionals in our industry. We need to train our future students in our industry to look at experiential mapping, you know. So instead of going back to as per normal, I would say to employees today, you know, go and look at design thinking, go and look at what is this whole experiential mapping all about? Can I learn that art of doing it? And then I think you'll become more relevant later. Yours, you know, should start to look at courses that look at experiential mapping, looking at design thinking, and that is what is going to make us really, really competitive when we rebound. Choose very carefully speakers, facilitators, and moderators, because I think Roger was an excellent facilitator in the beginning. We'll watch him moderate later as well, but I think it's really important. They are your anchors, you know, because in a live event, you are distracted. There's so many things that is going to take your multi-sensory experiences, you know, so there are many things that could distract you, you know, whether it's a visual, whether it's whatever. But here we have certain anchors that are very, very critical. And I think our moderators, our facilitators who knows how exactly, I've been through some webinars recently, And the first few minutes I switch off because speakers can't hold your interest. Also, when it comes to moderation, it just goes flat. So I think the end and the beginning is really, really important. Who is you are going to be using to anchor and also get your attendees to be, hooked on. Say we call about hooks in our industry. So these are things that we need to think about. They need to also look at today. I think we have been talking about business etiquette, professional etiquette, but I think virtual etiquette is going to be another thing that we really need to pay attention to. Causes and virtual etiquette got to start coming in, and we got to maybe put an element of virtual etiquette in the courses and workshops that we are going to be running. As most people say, events are got a social dimension to it. I totally agree. We human beings have a neuroscience who tell you that, there is a dimension to us where we are at the end of the day, social beings. But how do you do that component? A lot of people have asking me this question, virtual, how do you do that? Now that's the task that we have to bring ourselves into. IT guys are giving us lots of options. They're really looking, and so the IT and us come together because we are definitely far, I think, one up compared to the IT guys in the area of customer design and experience. While the IT guys are excellent because we're not going to run into each other's territory. They need us, we need them. So how do we marry this to bring that social dimension of professional networking? I mean, the reason why most of us go for an event is that we want to network. Half the time, if you see me in an event, I know I can download it. I know I can watch the downloads. I can watch the recordings. Half the time you see me networking. And that's why I attend, because most of my businesses, most of my work that I get, it's all done through networking. And that's what I pay money to go for events. So how do we bring that sort of a networking into our events? Requires design thinking. It requires experiential mapping. And of course, the obstacles, I think we all have been hearing a lot about bandwidth, et cetera, et cetera. I just wanted to do, I read this and I thought it was really interesting how a particular company, they were actually doing a fish seafood show, and they said now they brand it and they call it No Fish Show, where at the show there's no fish. But what they have done is that they did delivery of the fish to the attendees, and they did online tasting, and the chef was there and he was doing an online tasting, getting feedback from people. He was showing preparation and doing tasting related questions online, and they marry it with social media like Instagram, Facebook Live, LinkedIn community, and everything else. So you could see that it's a wholly integrated experience, and the statistics data that actually showed that people were extremely happy with this show. So it's interesting to see how people are really innovating exhibitions. I was listening to a group of technological partners, and I was amazed at how they come up with the avatars and the whole experience of being in a keynote, in a panel, and the interaction. And I thought, it's going to be really exciting. It's really, really going to be exciting how we are going to be doing hybrid events and how we are going to seize the social media that is. But the problem with our industry is that we have been going through the last few decades with too much business coming in. We are very used to a cutthroat model of eating into our profits and thinning margins. We are also competitive in that sense that we have forgotten creativity, innovation. We have forgotten what it is like to create an advantage based on customer experience. And these are examples of how our industry need to be really ahead of the curve. And I think this is when, whether it's us, yours, the Singapore Tourism Board needs to come in and perhaps handhold an industry that has seriously been left behind, as in knowledge, I would say, knowledge transformation. So I very quickly want to touch on hybrid events, where I think that's the way to go. And what is this hybrid event? We're going to be looking like what an airline business is all about, a hub and spoke, right? So hub is where, let's say we're going to be doing it here, and the spoke is going to be where we are going to be streaming this event all over the world. So what is your reach? Where you want to be, I think, is really critical questions that we, as an airlines model, will be thinking about when they have designed the hub and spoke model today our industry have to look at what the airline thought about. Why do we want to do this hub? Where do we want to do a hub? What kind of spokes are we going to be looking at? And will these spokes be, what sort of a revenue model will these various spokes going to give us? So think along the dimension of the airline, learn from what they have taught us, and relook at what we could bring into our events industry. And I like this word, and we've been using it very often, go global, go global. I think it's not just about experience, but today this is the way to go, where you manufacture your content in a local setting. And I think domestic sort of events, domestic tourism is everybody's lips is domestic, domestic, domestic. But being a small country, what is domestic to us? We need to question. Again, we have been very internationally focused as a country, but I think we have some international people listening to that local and then go global. But what sort of flavor are we going to take into this global experience? So it's not just about taking technology and just streaming, but localize your content and get your global reach. And how are you going to do that in terms of an experiential element? Of course, going online, I'm paying for events which are 5% of the initial cost. And I thought, that's amazing. But a lot of people are not even thinking about a 5 to 10%, but we need to think of revenue models. And I am very hopeful that we will be able to come up with the revenue models. Sponsorship, for example, packages, something that we need to think very, very carefully about. That is going to be the way that we are going to be also looking at revenue streams for our events that are going to go hybrid. When you go hybrid, we also need to think about the interpretation and translation elements. How are we going to do that? Especially when it's live streaming, how is that going to happen? But because we are going to have a global reach, and I think it's amazing that today I'm speaking here and the whole world is able to listen to me, which I can't get this sort of reach if it had been 2019, right? So it's amazing, but how do we get this interpretation happening? And like I said, amplification of customer experience. This is really going back to marketing. And I think Roger was talking about marketing tomorrow's e-seminar, e-conference, go back to the fundamentals, go back to cutting edge marketing and customer experience. And today, more so than ever before, we need to understand consumer behavioral analysis. What is it that people are like today? There are new market segments coming up. There are new niche markets coming up. What are they like? How have they changed? How the millennials are changing? I mean, a huge number of millennials are now attending events. And I think if I were to do a data analytics of today, I'll be quite surprised if we don't get at least 30 to 40% of our consumers sitting here are not millennials. We need to look at sustainability component when we are looking at the Gen Zs, they are the woke generation. So when you look at the woke generation, they are very into sustainability. And how are we talking about, and they are very happy today because I know I've spoken to some Gen Zs and they're saying, it's excellent, we are not polluting. They are the Greta generation, the Greta generation. And they are really happy. They said, no flights, no air pollution, no cutting down of trees. And they are really happy about this, So we are talking about a generation that's going to embrace the way that hybrid events are happening. And they are really going to be very happy with organizations that are moving into sustainability when it comes to events. So it's a nice, I would say, era that we are into as we are moving into new consumer segments that are moving into sustainability. Personally, I know academics will only travel once per annum and they're choosing which events that they want to go to, and the rest are sustainable and they don't want to fly. So, well, I mean, yes, there is another debate, like if that is going to happen, what is going to happen to our industry? But that is where we start thinking about, will that event be yours that they want to travel to, right? So if they have a quota, like I want to go 1 to 2 events, and would yours be the event that they want to travel to? So that's something that we need to think about, not that we are going to be reducing. Consumer market is going to be expanding. So of course, there are some technicalities, which I don't want to really touch about, but start to look at what would be interactive models, what would be engagement models that we would be looking at, and speak to professionals. I would say don't brainstorm it just on your own, because of course, your industry really well, but things have changed in this current era. So speak to professionals, read up as much as possible what other people are doing, and then adapt. Also, events online don't have to be free of charge. You have to monetize it. But what will be the monetization models that we could be looking at? Why would people want to pay money today, right? How can we pull the heartstrings, emotional heartstrings of people to be able to part with their money today for online events? So think about it. It is possible to get people to support you if there is a value proposition that you are going to be putting across to them. So what is your value proposition? Think about that one. The use of metrics. I mean, I have been in industry long enough to say that even when I go into an exhibition and I speak to our industry people, whether it's ITB Asia or anything, and they're sitting at the back, just collecting name cards. And when I ask them randomly, what is your ROI? And they say, oh, name card. No, I mean, I think in our industry have misunderstood economic models, of looking at KPIs. How do we really measure metrics? What's the conversion? What is the ROI? If we had learned to ask these questions in the past, then I think would have been a money-making industry and not on thinning margins and comparative strategies. But I think for the longest time, when I speak to people who've gone to exhibitions and ask them, your ROIs, give me a detail, go to the real quantifiable metrics. No idea. So again, knowledge is important. How do we train people to relook at metrics, analytics that would be converted into insightful actions? So again, I think for training providers, for socios and all, to relook at, how do we calculate that? And how do we teach people to calculate metrics, evaluation indicators today that it is going to go online? It is not something that people know automatically. Economic models are not something that people know automatically. It's not commonsensical, I would say. Therefore, to think that our industry is going to know this and it's going to be a common sense, I think it can't be more of an error that we presume that this is going to happen. So I would seek guidance, whether the professionals who are sitting here or institutions that are sitting here, to really look at what can we do to guide our professionals and our DMCs to look at analytics, to look at insightful data and actions, because that's the way that we're going to make intelligent decisions. And now more so than ever, intelligent actions and information is a lot more necessary than all the yesteryears. So I would say that hybrid events, as I put down, it's just not a piecemeal, okay? It should never be a piecemeal broadcasting solution. So how do I broadcast to people? How do we go global? So let's go virtual. So it is not that kind of solution. It's really about really relooking and say, it is the way of the future, right? It is the way of the future. So how are we going to look at innovative, creative models that are going to be experiential? It's going to be designed in a way that is going to be something that people are going to look forward to. How do we bring in business models into it? How do we bring in sponsorship models into it? How do I bring in evaluations into assessing the viability of these events in the future? So it's a lot more. It's a lot more. So when people ask me, what are we going to do? Is it just hybrid? I'm like, it's not just hybrid. I mean, it's a really, really value-laden word. It's a powerful word that we need to break down and to think about what is required in a hybrid event. So it's not a stop-shop measure. It is not a piecemeal broadcasting solution. It's really something that we need strategic thinking. And of course, these are things that a lot of people already know that, but I like the fact that there are certain financial benefits today is possible. There's an element of sustainability that we can look at today. Measurability is highly, highly possible today. I know exactly how many people are watching me with Facebook Live, for example, who's exiting, who's coming, who's chatting, what people are saying, what are their thought processes like. So it's amazing. I've been talking to some IT guys, and they are really going to go into content analysis. And academic institutions are there, they are sitting in the ivory towers out there and doing research Is it really relevant today? Why don't there be a partnership between the tourism boards, DMC companies, and academics to come in and say, look at content analysis, look at data analysis. What are people really saying? What are people really asking today? What is their behavior like when they come into, so when do we see the peak? When do we see a plateau? When do we see a drop? You know, lots of information is currently required to understand consumer patterns, consumer experience, consumer analysis, when we are migrating. So the more information and intelligence is going to come out, I think we are going to get better at this. So I've been speaking to the IT guys. I say, you guys know what to do when it comes to all these hard data. We know what to do when it comes to soft experiences. This is the time for us to marry and for us to evolve and transform our industry to something that has never, ever been before. So this is going to be the thing, even in hybrid events, things are going to change. Seating configuration is going to change. That would translate to, of course, financial dimensions. The design element of aesthetics, it is going to be amazing. People who are into environmental sciences are going to come in. I think that's where I think interdisciplinary, cross-disciplinary work is going to be fantastic, where we're going to take in people from environmental sciences, people who are into aesthetics, people who are into acoustics, to come in and say, what can we do to design event spaces today that is going to show beautifully online, but at the same time, when we are going to be localized in a venue, how is that going to look amazing to the people who attend, and how is it going to look amazing to people who are going to watch it virtually? And density measure, again, that's a lot of work that is done in any kind of social sciences that look at density management today. Pull that out and look at what does that mean in terms of consumer experience when there is crowd densities or dispersing. So these are some examples of what hotels have done in terms of putting it into measures. And I think this is really a time to speak to the hotels, you know, for us to be very confident. Now speak to the hotels and say, what do you have in place? What are your protocols? What are your crisis management or emergency plans? Because today is a time where even in your RFPs, event planners, it should be in your RFP. Your RFPs are not just for price. Your RFPs are going to be looking very, very clearly into protocols in place, emergency plans in place, because your professional communication to your clients got to detail this out. I mean, absolutely. Why was Singapore one of the few countries in the world that was looking at accreditation of SG Clean, right? It's really about consumer mapping here, consumer mindset, you know, what does it create in terms of assurance, right? It's not about putting people in the aircraft with a gun post-terrorism. It's not that, but it's really about assuring people that we've got things in place. You know, we know how we want to take care of you. And I think that assurance is going to be very, very critical post this crisis. Talk to insurance companies, you know, you need a lawyer. DMCs, please be a little bit more professional today. Don't take clauses just for granted. Bring in your lawyers, scan through your contracts very, very carefully. The last thing you need is a major shock when an event actually gets canceled with the new waves that are happening. Start talking to lawyers, start looking at legalities, for example. And I think, again, hand-holding it's again, legalities is not a commonsensical thing to do. And therefore, hand-holding is required in our industry to look at what sort of legal documents, the legal aspects of events that we now need to be very, very clear about. In my years of experience, I've seen event companies, you know, getting into big problems because they did not see the exclusion clauses, that whether it's clients or whether the venues have actually put into place. And even my company, we've gotten into some issues. But so you bring legalities, intelligence, I keep saying, look for credible data. And I think today with Facebook and lots of other fake news that is going, I think there's a lot of terror, infodemic, you know, there's so much that is out there that we are getting confused. What's right, what's wrong, what was really happening? I think go to credible sources. WHO, for example, Sancios, for example, they give the right source of information that you can transfer. So I think the thing about industry professionals, I would say industry players, is that professionalism has been lacking, whether they have that sound knowledge about what sort of intelligence and data is there. So your credibility is going to be questionable today if you don't do your work properly. So go to the right source of information, know what is available. If you're not sure, there's so many professionals like us who can actually put you into the right resources. And perhaps, that is going to lend you a lot more credibility in today's industry than ever before. Yeah, so these are some examples which I took from WHO. So I think you could actually have a look at some of these examples. Okay, most importantly, so we go to the business dimension. Okay, so you're wondering, okay, so what do we do? Yeah, I've heard about all these things to pay attention to. I think the very important thing is that have a very, very clear strategic business model. Bring your team together, start looking at your business model. Is it going to be a revenue model? Is it going to be a branding model for the time being? What is it that we really, really want? Go back to the whys, the why objectives, the why questions. Why would people want to go hybrid? Why would people want to attend an event like that? When you get your business models very clear, like I said, use your metrics, look at economic viability, look at actionable strategies, speak to people who have an economic background to look into things like that. Look for workshops. There's so many online courses that are available to look at economic models. How can you do a cost-based calculation today? And I always say that when a country like Singapore, we are the #1 leading company in the country in the world for MICE. We are top 3, depending on who's ranking us, in the world as a meetings destination. It's not accidental. It's not accidental. Everything is clear intelligence, planning, and strategy. If Singapore Airlines has been one of the leading airlines in the world, I would say it is not accidental. It is not accidental. It is definitely going to be clear strategies. It's got to be strategies and clear thinking and intelligence that has brought us to this point. I would say, I could talk about so many leading companies in the world, whether it's Disney. They all have got a fantastic business model and clear thinking process and a structure that follows a strategy. So it's not your structure that you should be thinking about. It's not about hybrid or virtual, face-to-face, right? A lot of people are very myopic. They're looking at this as a broadcasting option, as I told you before. It's a piecemeal option. But today, bring your team together and start really, really thinking about what is our long-term strategy. This is something that is here to stay, right? It is not something that is going to be an interim. So if this is going to be here to stay, then what is our future strategy? Can we work with the tourism board? Can we work with Celsius? Who do we work with now to come up with a clear strategy and structure and partnership and collaboration? If there are events that I've signed up for, it's clear branding. How do you position yourself among the multitude of events? Today, there are so many webinars. Everybody is a COVID expert, right? And therefore, I don't want to claim myself to be a COVID expert anymore. And all the videos that I've prepared, I've taken it down because it's like, you're going to get lost, So why would somebody want to log in and listen to your webinar today? What is that value proposition that you are going to be giving people that doesn't make you look at just one on the road, So I think the brand, the way you position yourself as a brand, whether you are an individual, whether you're an organization, whether you're a destination, I think very, very carefully about branding. And I would say to people, this is not the time to cut your costs on marketing. You can cut your costs in other things, but don't cut your costs in marketing. This is the really time that you stay put of your marketing costs, relook at the branding, relook as yourself as a DMC. What Singapore is doing is amazing. Again, we are looking at lots of branding, content creation about ourselves, and money is put into the marketing and branding component. I see Hong Kong is also going to move into marketing and branding. So countries that are very, very strategic they know that this is not the time where you cut your costs on marketing and branding. So cutting edge marketing and branding strategies. Again, like I said, I can't emphasize enough, metrics are really, really important. What metrics are you going to use? The viability of your events right now, your revenue models, and how to monetize it. So these are really important to put into place. And I think the moment there's a slight pickup, these are the people who are going to be ahead of the pack. or these sort of saying companies that are countries that are going to be ahead of the pack. And I've been hearing about certain countries around the world that are doing an amazing job of thinking very, very carefully as to where they are going to be positioning themselves. And I think that includes our country, Singapore. So WHO, for example, read, I think there's constant information that is provided. Go to credible sources, I would say. So final slide that I'm in, and I'm happy to listen to some questions, is that innovation. I think put on our thinking caps. I think that's what our industry has been lacking for a long time. We have been doing business as usual. We've been very, very business oriented. There's been a very capitalistic way of doing things. We've been very neoliberal. It's all about money, 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 money. And yes, it is important, but strategies, innovation, creativity, get your people to use more right brain right now and look at the left brains of the IT people, marry them together and start looking at innovative strategies. And I think every crisis, I've been listening to some of the past webinars that looked at post-crisis, and I think there have been excellent examples in the world where top-notch companies, including Disney, really grew to be where they are during crisis episodes. You know, Toyota, for example, actually came to be, they came out of that and then they became a far better in their models during a crisis. So there are excellent examples of companies. And of course, many people have actually said this, you know, crisis presents a window of opportunity. Let's not lose it, right? And not a great thing to say, but I think crises don't come often. And therefore, when it comes, let's seize it, right? In a very positive way, I'm speaking, very optimistic. We don't want crisis, but I think nothing like a crisis to teach us to be innovative. And our industry is in dire, dire, dire need of innovation and creativity. I mean, as a professional, I've been kind of sickened the way in which that we have not been innovative at all. So relook, rethink, like I say, consumer behavior. You know, what is this whole networking about? Why do people want to network? Why do people want to socialize, you know, in events? You know, what is the new consumer behavior analysis like? You know, what are people really like today with the influx of social media and technology? What are they really seeking when it comes to networking, online or offline? Yeah, so all these, I guess, is going to put people to stay ahead of the curve, you know, and collaboration. I think more so than ever before, let's put away competitive nature in our industry. We really, really need to look at collaboration. That is the mantra of the post-COVID era. I know there's lots of competition globally between countries, but we are seeing a new stream of leaders who are looking at partnership, collaboration. They're looking at empathy. They're looking at compassion, you know. And I think that is where the industry, the hospitality that we have in our events, in tourism, I think we need to bring it back again. You know, we need to bring the hospitality element into events one more time. That again, we are people, right? And we need to really, really look at that. So to round up, I would say let's adapt, quickly adapt, but in a very strategic manner. Let's not put our head like ostrich in the sand and say it is going to pass. It is not. It is not going to pass. It's going to transform. It's going to evolve. Adaptation, it's a human nature, and we will adapt. Adopt best practices. I would say, look at the banking industry, look at what they're doing, adopt it into our industry. Look at the transportation industry, for example. Look at the Grab guys, look at the Airbnb guys, you know, what are they doing? What is the technological industry doing? You know, I think it is time to watch from other industries and adopt these best practices. And if we can, we should collaborate with these people in other industries and look at new working models. And should accelerate. We need to move to a bigger platform. You know, we need to go into a newer platform, new paradigms. And I think this new paradigm is going to characterize our industry in the new era that is going to happen. And I think that is really where we belong as an industry. For all that we know that it is one of the best industries when it comes to the social dimension. It is one of the best industry that is so dynamic, the tourism, hospitality, and events industry. I would never trade myself for any industry, even post-COVID. A lot of the young people have been asking, should I leave this industry? It's so volatile. I said, that's the beauty of this industry. It's so volatile that it makes you creative. It makes you exciting. It makes you interesting. As human beings, and Einstein has said, if you're the same way of thinking, that's going to make you insane. So no 2 days are the same in our industry. And I think no 2 era that we are facing in this industry is ever going to be the same. So I urge you to look at creative models. We need to really look at the role of SDBs, such yours, and other institutions today, relook as to how they're going to handhold and guide this industry and take us forward. But at the end of the day, humans crave for physical interaction with humans. That's what we are tribes, and whether it's virtual, hybrid, or face-to-face, neuroscience tells us that, our brains are conditioned in a way that we need to be with people. So if events, whether it's hybrid or otherwise, if it can allow us to have the same form of human interaction, engagement, and customer experience, we are here to stay. Thank you very much. And I've come to the end. Roger, over to you. Thank you, Roger. Thank you. And the show must go on, people. The show must go on, but in a very different way. And I'm looking forward, really excited to working with our industry.
Hi, Nisha. Hi, Prof. Nisha. Well, I will call you will be Prof, okay? Because seriously, the things that you're sharing right now really actually give a glimpse of hope and light to the whole events industry. And a lot of things that you're sharing, it's very useful to us. In fact, we've been looking at, in fact, virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, and some of the technologies are actually made available way before the COVID actually hits us. Some as long as or as far as even 10 years ago. But however, I think it's during this time of crisis that we revisit all this technology that's made available and how we package it into a, well, I would say a sensible events or a sort of now the current on the virtual platform itself. Really, Nisha, I would really like to give you a word of thanks and a round of applause for you. Very great. I myself, I think I've picked up a lot of points. I've been writing a lot of notes.
Thank you. We need people like you. We need MIS to support the industry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We all come together. We end this together. We end this together, right? And we really need the industry to come together at the moment. So people like yourself, it's so important at this crucial time, more so than ever before.
And thanks, Nisha, really. And I really want to give a word of thanks to Mr. Dave from Training Age for recommending Nisha to our sessions. And of course, Nisha is also our trainer. And we are now open to the questions from the floor itself. Now we've got one question from Liz. I think Liz, she's a wedding DMC organizers. The questions goes as, new business models direction is really what she's looking for. I think she had one or even many events being cancelled, postponed to next year. So how to encourage people more and get the demand back? She's in a destination wedding industry. To her, promotions doesn't seem to get the appeal for people, and what should they do? I think during your presentation, you have actually shown that the new norm, the buzzword right now, it's normal is never going to be back to way before post-COVID. The new norm right now, it's totally different. So is there any way that that you can actually advise on?
Okay. Thank you. I think it's Adeline who mentioned that. Actually, I like to move away from the word new norm. I really don't like this word new norm. What is this new norm? Norm and then new. I think we really need to move into a new paradigm. We need to evolve. We need to transform. So I think creative strategies of, like I said earlier, whether it's going to be the wedding planners or whether it's going to be business event, go back to the root of the why question. Even among the wedding planners, even before the COVID situation, I was already speaking to people and say, why do people want to do private weddings today? Why do people want to do destination wedding today? Weddings have also evolved, whether it's face-to-face or otherwise. So when we go online today, if people ever want to do that sort of thing, it's really going back to understanding consumer behavior. There's so many intelligence reports out there. Please familiarize yourself to understanding, why do people want to do this? With that sort of a very strong understanding of the why, it's really, there's no formula. If anybody was asking, what is the formula here? You can't give the formula, because it's you have to have that intelligence, very importantly, come up with your team, brainstorm ideas. Like I say, collaborate, don't do it yourself. There are people out there that you could collaborate and pluck the best to brainstorm. And even if it's tertiary students, I mean, I teach, and I can tell you, my tertiary students have got far more creative, innovative thinking compared to people in the industry. They've amazed me. They have really amazed me to a point that I got goosebumps when I watch their presentations. I brought them to the industry. I said, come on, let's work together. Let's incubate ideas together. Go out there, approach institutions and say, we need some creative people. Let's come and brainstorm ideas. So well, I can't give you any formulas, but I think put on that strategy. Start really, really thinking of creative and innovative strategies right now.
Yes, Nisha, I like it, the point that you were mentioning about your students that you've been teaching or that you've taught are able to come up with even better creative strategies than some of the veteran like us. Reason why? Because they're seriously they're born in the digital age, the so-called the digital natives itself. And even I at my level itself, I'm learning how to go on digital with them from them itself. So I think that's a great idea to actually pick the mind of some of our Gen Z, and how are they doing right now, and what really appeals to them. And like what you have said, I think we should really transform. And I like it. I particularly love it when you said adapt, adopt, and that will accelerate our industry.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's address some of
so for example, I just want to add in there, Roger, because of course you have Singapore Tourism Board and SACIOs, they could also facilitate, because I think as academics or academic institution, I know some of them are listening in, but the criticism is that they've been in the ivory towers for too long. And today it's really, you need to bridge the gap. And I'm a practitioner, I'm an academic. I know where the problems, the industry is so hesitant. They don't know how to go and reach out to these organizations. The people at the academia, they don't know how to reach out to the industry, but the fact that they have a lapse in terms of their own practical experience, there is a huge gap in where you have intelligence, you have practice. And then they are not marrying at the moment. And we really, really hope that this is a time for collaboration. And I hope to see some organization leading this, and I'm very happy to come in, of course, but I hope to see organization leading this at this point in time.
Great. I think we have some of our SACIOs colleague and folks with us today, and certainly I think that will be a very good piece of advice to some of our colleagues. I think it's time really we look into seriously about transformation and getting different discipline in terms of the industries coming together and to collaborate. Okay, let's address to the next questions on the next question itself by Miss or Mr. Amoy. Hi, we are dealing with the professional training and how can we implement the hybrid event concept. That's quite technical, right? Nisha, what do you think so?
Yeah, like I said, please don't look at hybrid event as a piecemeal solution. I really have to say this because in my conversations, people really can't get that idea that hybrid events is not like what we're doing here, Hybrid events is a totality of experience. It's thinking local, like going global. It's about using live streaming. It is about using social media. It's really about looking at interaction that is going on. AR, there's a whole holistic dimension that you need to know. And if you don't have that kind of a technical expertise, then speak to the technical experts out there. Seek help to understand and broaden your understanding. So I would say, don't look at hybrid as a solution, as a broadcasting solution. It is not a broadcasting solution. It is.
Yep, I think that's a great point to bring up. Yeah, sorry. Events is always about experiential marketing. It's about really understanding the consumer behavior right now. Excellent point that you've brought up. It's really about offering the suite of services to actually achieve the new consumer mindset. Excellent. I really love that point that we just brought up. Okay, from our friends from Indonesia, Pak Adi. Nice to have you. Pak Adi is actually from our International Marketing Association itself, IMA. So Pak Adi, he actually asked us the questions on, please provide us with one or two examples on how to get sponsors online.
To get what? Sorry, sponsors.
Sponsors online. Okay, Right. I think it's more about the value, right? The sponsors actually look into the value and the reach. And like what you said, local being the platform right now. I think there are even more reasons that the sponsors would really want to find. In the midst of all this crisis, there are always opportunity. So I would like to think as a sponsor itself, we would really, I think that this serves as a great moment because back then a lot of conferences are really on the venue itself and it's not made available on regional or global level itself. But now you're seeing a lot of conferences going local, you know. So what will your take be on really how to get sponsors in, how to get the buy-in from sponsors?
Yeah, I think let's go back to the crux of it. Why would you want to sponsor? Let me ask you this question. If I'm doing a talk, right? Why would Roger want to sponsor my event? Tell me, so Roger, why would you want to?
Well, basically, it's the reach, and then at the same time, it's to create the interest back to MI itself, and then of course, as a benefit to the community out there, being a not-for-profit organization, we want to offer a value back to the community. So, and of course, at the same time, we like to also promote some of our courses.
Yeah.
To monetize on it.
You have to look at that, you know. And if I'm going to say to you, Roger, you're going to get the coverage, you're going to get the reach, you're going to ask me how much, you know. And that's the problem, where if you don't know what is your reach, what is your brand, what are you going to get? Do you have the metrics to measure and tell your sponsor that this is what I'm going to give you in return? What is the value, as you touched a very important word, what is your value proposition? So if you are not able to bring this to the table, then no sponsor is going to come. You know, you've got to promise them, we will do the data analytics, we will give you the insightful actions that you need to take. We have this amount of reach, this is our brand. And if you could put that down into quantifiable measures, I think that's what sponsors want. Unless, of course, if you have a sponsor who talks about, oh, you know, I'm doing this as a CSR or something, then you reach a different kind of a bargain with them, you know. Well, you really need to know what your sponsor actually wants, you know. So I've seen some events in the recent months that I've been attending webinars, you know. But again, do you really want that is also important, you know. Would your sponsors take away the time that you're going to spend on the webinar and frustrate people, you know, until they don't come back to you anymore? You know, that's something very critical to think about. You know, do you really want them to dominate your event? Is it a money making? That's why I asked you, why do you want to do this? You know, if it's going to be money for you, then don't waste people's time, you know, because your sponsors are going to dominate and take a lot of time. There was a recent event this last week I attended, 15 minutes was just promotion. And I'm like, I'm never going to come back again. Be very careful about your positioning and your branding, you know, because like I said, this is going to stay for a long, long, long time. So while you want your event to have an economic model and you want to get sponsors to come in, also evaluate, have a virtual etiquette with your sponsors as well. What is the attention span of your consumers? 45 minutes is all people have to listen to you. And if your sponsor takes in 30 minutes, then what's the point? You know, so you need to understand human psychology virtually, right? How long can they stay? And how much time do you give your sponsors? And during that few moments, the impactful presentation of your sponsor, will they be able to get the evaluation and the metrics happening for them? Would there be a win-win? Lots of things to think about, actually. It's not so easy as saying, I'll go to a sponsor and say, look, I'll let you talk. So
true. I think that's a great point to bring. Yeah. Seriously, I think, yeah, some of the webinars, like what you've said, that we have attended, filled with huge number of sponsors. And then, you know, by the time that we go through all the sponsors, well, I would say some even on advertorial and things like that, the time that's being left in terms of value back to your audience will not be felt. You really get them very disinterested or not interested at all in the topic that you are touching on. So we do have another 2 questions coming. Oh, Roslyn actually said, say hi to you, Nisha.
Thank you, Roslyn. Nice to meet you, but I think it's really nice to have Sasios.
Yeah, Rose has been a past president of Sasios and she did a great job.
I mean, let me just ask Roslyn this, you know, since she's here, right? I mean, she could put on the video or, you know, she could put a comment on the chat. So, you know, what is the support after maybe this talk that the industry can expect from Sasios, maybe?
I hope we're not putting her in the spot. Rosalind, if you want, you can always answer to that. How can an association, like what you said, put a what spot into the industry again? Sorry, you're saying, Nisha?
Which one, sorry?
Your questions to Rosalind will be again.
Yeah, I mean, after this talk, what kind of, support maybe we can expect from Sasios after, as we are sharing this, we are talking, maybe some thoughts that came to her.
Sure. Rosalind, do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, well, lastly answers, we can take another question if we want.
Sure, no problem. Wow, we've got one agreed on the analogy of sponsors. I think that one coming from one of our anonymous attendee, but it's okay. Well, we will look into that definitely after today itself. We know the beginning has been a bit draggy. We're fully aware of it. In fact, I'm trying to tone
There's a
down a lot
question
more.
coming up, Roger, that has been people have been asking whether this recording is available and
Yes,
whether they can download. So maybe there's some information that we could give to them.
yes. In fact, I've posted on the webinar chat itself that that it will be made available on YouTube, our Marketing Institute of Singapore YouTube itself, and Facebook. Okay. So in fact, immediately after this, you can revisit our Facebook, and there you have it. You can have your sessions, and I think quite a number of them really wanted to revisit today's sessions. Okay, I think Willie um, actually has a questions for you. In adapting to the new norm, well, okay, I would take note that that's not the word that you like, especially in learning manual skills. While when social distancing disable teacher to interact directly with students, do you have any suggestions to make skill learning that can go on effectively?
E-learning.
Yeah. E-learning, right? You said, do you have any suggestions on skills that can go on effectively? I think your answer will be e-learning, right? Which you are seeing a lot of institutions doing that right now.
Yeah. I've been doing it for the last 2 months now. E-learning, e-training. I've been training the hospitality and events industry in the last 7 to 8 weeks now. You know what? It's amazing. It's so amazing. I was so apprehensive in the beginning. My very first one, I was so afraid. But in fact, the rating is so much higher, almost perfect. Rating has been coming up in my virtual teaching and training. E-learning is so supportive today. I think technology is so amazing, really, where I've seen whether it's institutions, training institutions, or higher academic institutions, they've got everything so systematically in place. It is so structured. We have done blended learning. And it's so much of interaction prior to the training itself or teaching itself. Materials are so systematically done up. Videos, we are using multiple tools, and I find that when I used to teach face-to-face or train face-to-face, sometimes you get carried away. Sometimes people are walking in and out, and therefore I can't cover enough information. We can't use multiple media when I do face-to-face. But I find that today, with the virtual teaching, virtual training, we have enough time. We don't get distracted. I'm able to take my time, show them the videos. So use multiple mechanisms in your e-learning, because we need to get people to be using their multiple senses. We are multi-sensory human beings, right? So whether it's touch, feel, we have auditory learners, we have visual learners, we have kinesthetic learners. So it's about going back to the learning behavior in people, right? So there's some who are really visual, and I get excellent videos, that I show them, and we got a good time laughing at it, and then we talk to them about the learning points from the video. It's not an entertainment, by the way, right? Videos are not entertainment. So then we use podcasts. We use lots of different media, and therefore e-learning is not about putting your materials online. But it's really about using multiple channels of communication, and I think that's what has made e-learning work so far in all the 7 weeks that I have been training. It's been so smooth. And thanks to many of the institutions, thanks to Singapore being a smart city, we have really little hiccups that I was really afraid, but it's been such an amazing ride. And part of me is like, maybe this is what we should be doing in the future,
Yes.
and having maybe 20-30% face to face. Maybe the rest could go online, and let's see how much more interaction. There are certain research that are showing that there's a lot more closeness between the person who is speaking and the audience virtually. And I was shocked to see this data coming up. That's because today we have such attention given to the person there. They're only seeing your face, they're seeing your 93% of your non-verbals, you know what it is, right? Non-verbals,
Yes.
the eye contact, the tone of voice and stuff like that. So they're watching you holistically, which we don't get on a face-to-face, and therefore there seems to be a lot more effect in communication today if you know how to bring the 93% across.
True, Nisha. I can relate to what you're talking about because seriously, I mean, it's not a choice right now on blended learning that or face to face. So it to a certain extent that it really pushes us onto an e-learning platform, which we are seeing the benefit. We're reaping the benefit of e-learning right now. Besides time saving on traveling distance, I think e-learning it's an excellent platform. Thanks. Yeah, I think we should really adopt e-learning platform.
Yeah, but I think just a
Yeah,
word of caution to people who are thinking about it. Understand consumers' attention span. Huh? We don't have more than 45 minutes maximum.
yeah.
Got to be bite size.
Fatigue.
It's got to be
Yeah,
nuggets. It's
yes,
got to be really to the point. It's not about really lectures. It's not that way. Training should never be like that as well. So how you design your material got to be very aesthetic. It's got to be understanding human mindset today. How much can we retain? How much can we take? So it goes back to human psychology again. So e-learning is really not about putting things electronically.
yeah.
E-learning, learning
True,
electronically. Yeah.
true. I do agree. Sometimes we get visually fatigued. Keep looking at the speakers and things like that. So really, the training materials in terms of the different training materials that you have just mentioned, different platforms, different even on some of the videos itself and things like that. Really, it offers a variety in terms of training on e-platform.
Yeah, and get the
Rosalind
right
has an
course
answer for
designers.
you.
Yeah, right.
Ros,
The right course designers, who really understand people's learning behavior, people's psychology when they go online, and then get them to do the right work for you, professionalize it. Even if you're going, it's not just about migrating and putting your materials on an online platform. Really not that. Yeah.
True. Yeah, the experience can be very different. Rosalind actually came back with a reply. Hi there,
Yes.
Sasios is supporting the industry with various areas, especially at this time on professional development and training. It's the best time to pick up skill stuff to get ready for post-COVID collaboration and use of technology for virtual events, etc. Good.
Mm.
We're actually exploring getting Rosalind to come on board as our trainer also.
Oh,
Rosalind,
amazing.
thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Rosalind. I think we need to have more of that support for the industry.
Right.
It's really about marrying technology and getting our industry players ahead of the curve. That's really going to put countries like Singapore at a very, very competitive an advantage compared to the rest of the world. And that's my personal vision to see where we are. I mean, we have been transferring best practices for maybe 2 decades now, across the world. And I think the moment we jump started now, there's so much of intellectual insights or intellectual property, I think we could be transferring to the world. This is the time to harness it, harvest in it, and it's going to put many of us at a point that we can actually go out to the world stage and start talking about how amazing we have actually done in terms of the gold standards of transforming our industry. Now,
Yeah, true. I
getting is a
know
virus,
Sasios.
gold standard
Yeah,
in transforming. Yeah.
true. Singapore really being the epitome of the region itself, really need to lead the whole regions in this area itself. And I know of Sasios has been engaging, in fact, on a weekly basis with the authority and Singapore Tourism Board in trying to get some initiative out. So really kudos to
Yeah, I
Sasios.
mean, Roger, is if you look at it, like I said, why we are number one or number two or number three in the world because of our intelligence and our strategy and etc. But so every time I go on stage as a keynote or as a panel, people always ask this question, what made Singapore to excel this way, right? And I always say it's really, really about our collaboration, our partnership, our trust, the leadership, that our tourism board, or our socios, or the leadership is so important, and therefore it's now a call for the next leadership, and how we are going to invest in that leadership, how we are going to take the industry forward, that is what we need to do at this point. I think it's a certain responsibility in, I think that rests in us as leaders in our industry, that rests on Singapore as a destination to test bait a lot of things that we can actually transfer to the world, and it's really not about Singapore versus the rest of the world too. It's about what do we do and how do we transfer these knowledge and best practices globally to other parts of the world, and can we as a global industry raise our bars and expand, and there's so much to share amongst us internationally as well. So I really hope that there come a time a couple of days down the road when I go back on stage again and people are going to say, so tell us what you guys did right. Again, Singapore has gone into best practice. I mean, this is really my vision, and what can we share that we could do during crisis if it ever happens again? So yeah.
Okay. Really, I share your vision in that area itself. And I think there are a couple of questions more, but we will take it on Facebook. How's that so? I think we've really overrun our time. And perhaps we should probably invite you back again, Nisha. I know. We love to hear from you today. In fact, there are a lot of good comments on what you have shared with us. A lot of good. I think your insights is really helpful for us.
Roger,
So
yeah.
and I really want to give a word to Dave from Training Edge, for recommending you our webinar sessions. And of course, Nisha is our trainer with the Marketing Institute of Singapore, and we're certainly very honored to actually have you as our training partner and our trainer. So thank you, Nisha. Thank you so
Thank
much
you. I think I
for
just
those
want to share
questions.
the screen of MIS would like
Sure.
people to scan the information about the scan me for further information on MIS.
Yes. Yes, of course. If you do enjoy today's sessions and you would like to attend our executive training course itself, do scan the QR code and then find out on some of the courses. I think Nisha is not just about events. She's a great sales trainer also, okay? So do find out more by scanning on the QR code. So thanks, Nisha. I would really like to give you a round of applause for this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank
I
you,
think we have all
Freddie.
enjoyed.
And
For those
everyone in the
questions.
audience, thank you very
Yeah.
much for being with us and for your great questions and your enthusiasm to stay with us. It's really a starting point, I think, for all the enthusiastic people here to learn and move ahead together. And for Sasios to also be with us, to listen in to see what we could do to take this forward. So good luck, everyone. Best wishes. And together, we will get over this in a better way. In a better way.
Thank you. I always like to get back to your word on, you have to adapt, adopt, and accelerate on your industry itself. Thank you so much. For those questions, please post it on Facebook and we'll try to get Nisha to actually answer to those
Yes,
questions.
please. Yes,
All right.
please.
Thank you. Thank
Quite
you.
happy to do
Thanks
that.
so much. Okay. So
Thank you,
next,
Florence. She's just giving me the best wishes to do my pitching.
sure. Just to let you know, you have
created.
created yet another record in our webinar. Today we hit more than 100 attendees. Thank you so much, Nisha.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, let's get back to our webinar on tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be having the Asia Marketing Day. So like what I said, I'm not going to take too much of your time. We just go on to our Facebook and find out more. All right, so log yourself in from 10:30 right up to 4 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, so you'll find out more about the schedules for tomorrow's event. Look into our Facebook, and of course tomorrow the day after, on the 28th of May, it's where we have Professor Catherine Tate coming on board to talk about the impact of COVID-19 on business contracts. I think a lot of business owners out there would like to know more, right? So I think she has recently published some white paper and also authored a book on this. So yeah, do come on board and to find out more from Professor Catherine Tate on tomorrow is Wednesday, right? Thursday on the same time from 12:30. All right, and of course I'll be sharing with you on building business resiliency with personal branding on this coming Friday. Okay. So I think that will be for all. I think for the rest of them, you can always visit our Facebook to find out more about our executive program and the rest of the things that we are doing. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to give a word of thanks to Nisha again, and of course today, and we will see you tomorrow. Okay, all right.